Good evening and welcome to this Pasco City Council workshop meeting of Monday, March 10th, 2025. The city thanks you for being a part of your city's government. At workshop meetings, the council discusses issues but takes no formal action. Agenda packets are available online at www.pasco-wa.gov/agenda. If you're here, they're present on the small table under that sign that conspicuously says agendas. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC-TV channel 191 in Pasco and Richland, and it's streamed on the city's Facebook page, on its website, YouTube channel, and on Microsoft Teams. This and previous council meeting video is available on the city's website. If the public would like to submit comments or ask questions, they can do so by contacting the city manager, city clerk, or by using the Ask Pasco app. So with that, Ms. Clerk, if you'll read us in.
Councilmember Barajas.
She is joining us, I believe, via technology. Ms. Bras. Yep, there we go.
Great. Councilmember Blaisdell.
Present.
Councilmember Grimm.
Here.
Councilmember Harpster.
He is excused for the night.
Thank you. Councilmember Perales.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Milne.
I'm present.
And Mayor Serrano.
And I am here.
Thank you.
With that, if you'll please all stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. With that, that moves us along to item number 4, which is verbal reports from council members. Do we have any such reports tonight? Mr. Milne.
Yeah, so on Friday we got to push in the third fire truck, Station 81, and we had a good time. A lot of people came out, also with Councilman Grimm. So we all got the muscles at a slight incline, so it was a little more challenging this time, but we got it done, and it's a great tradition to be able to get a new fire truck, and then it's good to go along with the stuff that they were doing in the 1890s as far as pushing the fire wagons in, and we're still doing it today. So just a little more technology and a lot of water in there. So I had a good time, and I appreciate city staff that came out and supported the event. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Milne. Mr. Grimm, you got nothing?
I was just going to pile onto that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further lights, that'll move us on to item number 5, which is items for discussion with opportunity for public comment. Now, under our fairly recent rules, the public may comment on each topic, and that allows an aggregate of 8 minutes of comments, 4 per side. In other words, 4 minutes for or against an item, and that allows 2 minutes per speaker. I know that sounds confusing. If we do get to the point where we're running up against that, we're 2 minutes. I'll call it with the timer there. And if we're at more than 2 people vote wanting to oppose one side or another, we'll deal with it at that point. So with that, that moves us to item 5A, which is Visit Tri-Cities 2024 Annual Report 2025 Work Plan and Tourism Promotion Area Reserve Fund Request. We got Kevin Lewis. Ms. Sigdell, is not present. So City Manager, you have something to tee us up with? There we go.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Yes, as Mayor, as you pointed out, Kevin Lewis is here, President and CEO of Visit Tri-Cities. He's going to share with us the 2024 annual report, as well as the work plan for 2025 and the TPA, the Tourism Promotion Area Reserve Account, which will probably be the bulk of your conversation and decision-making later on at your next week's meeting.
Excellent. Thank you. Kevin Lewis, and it's good to be with all of you, Mayor and Council and staff. Appreciate all the help that we get from the staff. They're great. They're really, really helpful to us. Every year via our interlocal agreements, we come in to present the annual report to the city to let you know how we've done over the year and where the money's gone and all that kind of stuff. And so let's just jump right into it to the next slide. Do I have a... Click the arrows. There we go. Okay. This is just a quick reminder of how we're organized. We're a 501c6 destination marketing organization funded by lodging tax. We get the first 2% of the lodging tax comes to Visit Tri-Cities via an interlocal agreement with the city. We also have set up through state legislation and through local participation from the hotels, tourism performance assessments. that brings in $3 per hotel room per night that goes directly to Visit Tri-Cities for the marketing and promotion of the area and the destination. And then we also have partners, sponsors, and members. Our vision to inspire, reward, and celebrate the spirit of exploration and discovery in this community. And our mission is to fuel transformational growth in the Tri-Cities through tourism. So we feel like the kind of the bulk of what we do is just this, we're a catalyst for success in the community. You build a place that people want to visit, then people want to live there. And if people want to live there, they work there. And if they work there, they want to invest in it. It creates this positive economic cycle by continuing that. We have 5 pillars in our organization: strategic sales, effective marketing, collaborative destination development, proactive community engagement, and then innovative and meaningful operations are really important to us. So that's what we structure all of our efforts around, those 5 pillars, and build our strategic plan around that. Couple of highlights. We had a wonderful year in 2024. You guys were a part of that, but these are just a couple of the key accomplishments I thought I'd highlight right off the bat. $10 million in economic impact from the Ironman 70.3 World Championship and the World Horseshoe Championships. Those were first-time events in the Tri-Cities. Brought in people from all over the world, literally I think we had almost every 50 states represented in both of those events. And in the Ironman, 20 countries, and the Horseshoe Tournament, 4 countries were represented. A couple of other highlights, just overall visitor spending, $630 million brought in from the outside into our community from visitors. Visitors made 4.4 million trips and generated about $77 million in tax revenues. Some of the things we do, we market heavily around the region and nationally too. With digital advertising, we're able to track those, the return on investment of those ads, and you can see from when people have seen your ads and then show up in your community, and the return on investment there, for every dollar that we spend in digital marketing, we bring about $342 back into the community. We had a really big push with our media efforts over the last year. Introducing the Ironman event was really a big piece of that, but there were a lot of other FAM tours that came in, familiarization tours from media and whatnot. We had a 161% surge in positive media coverage from over 2023, so a lot more positive media coverage. And then our sales team, really good effort, 86% increase in events booked last year. So some good work going on there, and those are just the highlights. Some of this stuff I already mentioned: the visitor spending $630 million, tax revenue 77, trips, jobs really important. 5,900 people make their living in hospitality and tourism in the region, so that's really important. And then you can see on this slide the breakdown of where that money is being spent: 144 million in retail, 143 million in food and beverage, 130 million in our hotels, transportation 114, and recreation 97 million. You know, all of those dollars come in, and it's not just the one-time spend that happens. They're impacting other businesses. Employees that work at those hospitalities go out and spend their money that they're making, their wages. So you've got all indirect induced impacts, and of course the tax revenues that we talked about. All of that circulates in our community. So that's kind of a foundation of what we do. I thought I'd get a little specific with Pasco this year. We saw 62 tourism events in Pasco that Visit Tri-Cities helped generate and facilitate. Those are sports meetings and conferences, 51,000 visitors, and about 15.5 million in economic and visitor spending. Another note that I think is really great to see: 53%, almost 54% of sports tourism takes place in Pasco. And so we're very focused. 42 of the 78 events that we brought in were held here in Pasco. Ironman, folks think, well, the Ironman was over in Richland, so that's not really a Pasco thing. But here's the thing: during Ironman weekend, we had a 48% increase in the average daily rate at our hotels and a 59% increase in hotel revenues. Pasco hotels, if you break those out of that combination, earned $105,000 more in 2 nights on Ironman weekend than they did on the same weekend the year before. So what happens is you get this compression. People are staying in hotels in other places. Everybody's able to increase their rates, and more revenue comes in. And so we filled up the entire community with that, and not only filled it up, but we're able to make more off of it. So just that's how this visitor economy works: is you just continue to bring those groups in, and it just generates more and more and more revenues. Some signature events in Pasco. The WIAA State Cross Country Championships have been coming here for 35 consecutive years. It's a huge event, 1.2 million spending there. The NWAC Basketball Championships at CBC, they bring in about 450,000. The USSSA Softball, this was the Latino State and the Latino Worlds Championships. That actually happened, one of those events happened on Ironman weekend too, so that helped bump those numbers up. Got people that were playing here, and of course water follies, you're familiar with that. It's been going on for a long time. Our airport's done really well, and I appreciate Buck being here tonight. And actually, I meant to welcome my contingency, my entourage. No, these are some great folks that really support us and our organization. Buck, the airport director, VJ, and Jerry from A1 Hospitality, great support to us, and I appreciate them supporting us here tonight. But the airport had a record-breaking year. We don't claim all of the credit for that, but we'll claim a little bit for the marketing we do. We did 2 focused campaigns in Expedia this year that from those campaigns, we booked 589 flights from people that responded to those Expedia campaigns, and 3,700 room nights came off of that. So some good stuff there. Of course, our team's involved in the community quite a bit. This year, we worked together with the staff here, and we're able to secure a $15,000 tourism grant to produce Pasco media assets. We were involved in the Pasco Chamber, the Hispanic Chamber, Water Follies Board, Hapo Center Advisory Board, all of those things that help, again, develop and build our destination the way that we want it to be, to make it a great tourism destination and a great place to live. This is the financial picture. In 2024, our office generated about 3.4, almost 3.5 million in total revenues. That was our overall revenues for the year, and our expenses just about 2.9 million. And so we'll talk about where some of those extra funds go a little later today when we talk about reserve accounts. But you can see the breakdown there, the tourism promotion area. Those assessments bring in about almost 70% of the revenues to our office. And that's that $3 per hotel room per night that the hotels, this is hotels that have 40 rooms or more that are charging that assessment. The contracts with our cities brought in about 780,000, and then our membership and corporate sponsors another 375,000 there. You can see the breakdown in expenses there, about 70% of it going to marketing and convention and sports sales marketing. It's all about bringing people here. Of course, we've got some administrative costs and things like that too. Let's see, I went backwards, sorry. Go forward. This is some of the lodging data. So the top chart there is the total hotel motel tax revenue that comes into the communities. We get the first 2% of that, so approximately 50% of that lodging tax comes to us. And you can see Pasco had about 541,000 in tax revenue collection, and we took about half of that. Our hotel numbers, occupancy overall was up 1.2%, so just a minor increase in occupancy. But the ADR, the average daily rate at our hotels, was up 4.4%, and our RevPAR was up 5.7%. RevPAR is revenue per available room each night, so they calculate that, so that's a good number. This number on the bottom is a little deceiving. Hotel revenue, that's not total hotel revenue for our area. That's the hotel revenue that we collected in taxes that came to visit Tri-City, so $206,000 more than the previous year in tax revenue that came to us. So I think our hotels overall brought in about $7.5 million more than the previous year, last year. So good year for our hotels. Our group business, really important part of our strategy is bringing in the conventions and sports and all of that. 168 groups hosted last year. That's up 7.7%. 132,000 visitors. That's a 9.5% increase, and then 35.7 million in visitor spending from those group business. That's up 33%. As we look at it into the future, these are groups that are booked anywhere from now into the future. So that's not just 2026 and but it's all the way into the future. But right now we currently have about 118 groups confirmed. The anticipation on that is 134, almost 135,000 future visitors, and the future spending would be 69.4 million in future spending. So as those groups come in, that revenue comes in. And some exciting events coming up. Some of our marketing data, and we talked a little bit about this, but this revenue generated from ad-inspired bookings. So as we're able to track these ads and see that people see the ads and then show up in the destination, we can track back $16.7 million came into the destination from people who were inspired by our advertising and showed up here. 352 to 1, we talked about that. The media coverage. Because of introducing those new audiences, we expanded our reach to a whole new group of people. The triathlon audience all around the world starts hearing about us. So 3.6 billion. We went from an audience of 27 million in 23, clear up to 3.6 billion this year, just because of those new markets that we went into. And then fam tours, these are when we bring people in, journalists and influencers come in, and we take them around the area. They get to experience the things that we do here. They go off and write about us. We generated 33% of our total media coverage came from hosting those fam tours and events. Some good growth there. Social media is up in every category, and won't spend a lot of time on that, but doing some good stuff in social media too. And then that brings us to our work plan, which is in your packet there. And I don't think we want to go through that line by line, but you're welcome to take a look at that. We have put together a complete 3-year strategic plan, and from that we pulled off specifics for 2025 that we plan to accomplish that year. So that is one of the documents that we'll need to have approved when you go through the approvals. And some exciting stuff going on next year, some good events and things, but we also have some good projects planned that will really help us do better in our marketing and that as well. And then the final part of the report is the Tourism Performance Assessment Reserve. So as I showed you in the earlier graphic, we didn't spend as much as we made last year. Those extra monies go into a reserve account, and this is specific to the tourism performance assessment revenues. So we keep those all in separate accounting records, but we currently have from the tourism performance assessment about $1.4 million in reserve accounts that are available to reinvest. And our Hotel Motel Commission, who Jerry Beach is our chairman of the Hotel Motel Commission, they are the ones who approve the expenditures on these and recommend them to the city council. So we've taken all of these projects before the Hotel Motel Commission, and they've given their approval on it and are recommending these. And I can go through these kind of one by one, but I'll be brief. If you have questions on any of them, I'm happy to go into more detail. But the first one is for research and reporting services. So I've been throwing around a lot of numbers and a lot of data, and we collect all kinds of it now with the digital capabilities that are available. Trying to keep track of all of that and report it out in a seamless way is getting a little complicated. Our staff is out trying to sell and market and do things, and we don't have anybody specifically focused on that research and data analyzation and reporting. And so we've looked into some research and reporting services, folks who do that. And what we'd like to do is invest in some of that to help us so that we can get the data, get it analyzed correctly, and be able to report it out correctly. So that's what that's about. The short-term rental research, I was talking to Leo just before we came in this morning, or this evening, and about short-term rentals, and I know the council has some interest in that. We're interested in it as well. We surveyed our Ironman athletes and asked them, where are you staying? Are you staying in a hotel, friends and family, short-term rentals, whatever? We found out that 17% of the Ironman athletes were staying in short-term rental properties. That's a big chunk, and that made me want to understand that market better. And so there are services out there. One of them is called AirDNA that we have talked to specifically, that they understand the short-term rental market. They do have a service that they scrape the internet to find out where the listings are, where the properties are, who's registered with Airbnb, VRBO, other places, and so it's just a good supply of data that will help us understand what the impact of those short-term rentals are in our market. And I think it can be some really helpful data to the city as well, as you're considering what type of availability to have with that. You consider zoning and restrictions and all of that. We can help you provide that data. So that's what that is for. Obviously, AI is big, huge in marketing, and we need to utilize that a little more effectively. So we want to invest some in some tools and subscriptions for AI technology that'll help us in our work. We want to redo the airport kiosk. It's getting a little dated and time for a refresh. So that's another project. Some of these familiarization tours, we'd like to schedule some of those that are kind of group trams where we bring in a bunch of media at the same time and take them around. So we've got some plans there. The signature sports events, those are for things like Ironman and the big events like that. As we go out and seek these bigger events, this has become an important strategy to us, and we've seen the impacts that it's had in our visibility and our credibility as a destination. So we want to put some money into that so that we can go out and get more of those and then take care of the ones that we have. Quick response funds, those are for just for our convention and sports sales folks. When they're working with a client, a meeting planner or whatever, and they may be competing with another destination to bring that group in, we want to have some funds available that if there's something that we can use that will bring them over the top to make them come here versus somewhere else, that gives us a chance to make a decision quickly and not have to go out for further approvals on that. So we put a little bit of money in that we can do some things like that. We're trying to get, again, more conferences and events in here. Sports Events Media Group hosts a number of sporting conferences. We'd love to get those people to come here, see our facilities and that, so we'll put some money there. We've been trying to win the bid to host the State of Washington Tourism Conference. Haven't been successful yet, but I think that's coming in the future, and so we want to keep some funds there for that. And then the last is just project support services. As you've seen, over the last year or two, we've continued to increase the amount of work that we're doing in terms of hosting these events and being out there with the media and all of that. That continues to grow, and we need some support to be able to continue to maintain that effort that we're doing to be successful with all the stuff that we're adding. So that would help us just get some support services to take care of some of the responsibilities that are added when we add all of this additional work. That's the high-level overview. Happy to take questions and answer any concerns you might have.
Thank you. I see Mr. Milner's late.
Yeah, as a business owner, I know I go to a lot of conferences. So the money, like say the 125, if you add the two together, that's advertising to get people to come here to the Tri-Cities, or is that any kind of money spent on you guys going to other conferences to promote the Tri-Cities?
So you're talking about the Sports Event Media Group and the State of Washington Tourism
Correct,
Conference,
yeah.
those two together. So those would be dollars that would be invested in hosting those events. So not specifically to us going and recruiting them, but basically if we're going to host the State of Washington Tourism Conference, we want to put on a really good show. Okay. And so we need some funds to invest in the events and the activities that are surrounding that conference. And so we might, for instance, host, an off-site event at a winery or something like that all the attendees would go to. It showcases the area for us and helps us market the destination, but it gives them something significant for their conference.
Okay, and this money would be like just put into a fund. So, say like the State of Washington Tourism Conference, if you didn't get it, like say in 2025 or 2026, it would still be there in 2027 when it did happen.
Exactly. Thanks for clarifying that. Those are funds that are just set aside for that specific event. Once we get it, we use them for that. They don't get used otherwise. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Great clarification.
Makes sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Milner. Mr. Grimm.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for the wonderful update. And, it looks like you just completed your second full year, and congratulations. I mean, I'd be proud of a lot of the numbers you presented to us tonight. Looks like, just fantastic work. I, read through your plan for this year, and I see how all those tie back to the pillars of success that you're hoping for, to make sure you guys aren't, wasting time on things that don't matter and everything. So I appreciate that, organization. I just guess my one question for you is, what about this year? I see your work plan, but I see that, the trepidation in the economy and, are you guys doing some things to try to combat that for us here? And, how are we going to overcome that? Do you think?
I think there's some definite concern out there, and I expressed this too. I think the Business Journal called me a week or so ago to ask, what are we doing? What's going on? And I think the best answer I can give to that is we have, as you've seen, as we go through the slide deck, this multi-layered approach. And it's not all hinging on whether we get a sporting event or whether we get, leisure traffic, whatever. It's multi-layered. Our PR efforts are out there telling the story. Our ad efforts are out there attracting attention. We bring in these events. And so we just continue to try and layer that so that we're insulated a little bit. If one of them's down, another one might pick up. And I think we saw that last year. Most of the state was relatively flat, like we were in occupancies and that. Some areas were down. I think Seattle actually was up substantially last year over the previous year, but they were way down the previous year. They had some, cruise business that came back and that, so they sort of offset the trend. Seattle did, but the rest of the region was flat or down. We insulated ourselves with that. I think if we hadn't had an event like an Ironman here or a World Horseshoe Tournament, we could have seen some losses there, but you saw those impacts that came in. And so that's the kind of effort that we're trying to make, is we're continually out there looking for the next thing that will help us fill those shoulder seasons, take off the edge if something goes south.
Okay, and I appreciate the snowball effect there of, those events and stuff bringing that much attention. I mean, just your reach, you point out, from 27 million to 3 billion. I know that doesn't directly translate to dollars or to visitors we may see, but just the attention to the region that all of that garners, and where that's going to go, and people just kind of having their eyes on us. And one more thing about your work plan too, I appreciate lots of your goals being measurable, challenging yourself, with specific numbers so that you can go back and measure to that. So anyways, congratulations, job well done. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to tell you one little anecdotal story, if it's okay, that talks about that reach. I actually went down to the Ironman 70.3 World Championship, which was in New Zealand this year. I got invited down there, so I was down. The women's race, the pros took off, and then I went back up. They had a little VIP area, and I sat down at a table to grab something to eat. And there were two guys sitting at the table. So I, just reached out and said, "How you guys doing? Where are you from? Whatever." One was from Olympia, Washington. One was from Victoria, BC. Both of their wives were racing in the World Championship in New Zealand. Both of them had done the Tri-Cities race. So across the world in New Zealand, we're talking to folks who, you open, we've inserted ourselves into this network of people who go all over the world, and they're connected. And so, yeah, it is a snowball effect. It just continues to compound the interest that we're getting off of that.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm. Mr. Prowl.
Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation. We kind of talked about the short-term rentals, but I kind of wanted to bring it up again. I guess, how long is that study going to take? Because I think, go ahead.
It's actually a platform that we'll be able to get that data regularly. So once we sign up for it, we'll have access to that. Plus, we can go back, I think, to 2014 and see the data. They'll allow us to see the data and the trends from 2014. So once we get access to the data, we have everything that's available. We can look into it, get the research and whatever. So it's not necessarily a study; it's already be going on.
Okay,
It's an ongoing.
Yeah, because that statistic that you mentioned to me, 70% of those athletes were staying in, short-term rentals. Like, oh wow, that's kind of staggering. That definitely impacts the hotels, and we're building new ones and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I guess in the long run, I would like for us to get that data, because I know this is something that we've already talked about, that we want to kind of talk about, workshop, and then hopefully implement here in the near term. So the more information we can get, that can make us craft better policies. But at the same time, we want to see some of that tax dollars used for things like this, because like other council members have said, you've only been here 2 years, and the Visit Tri-Cities has accomplished a lot in these 2 years, especially the last year and a half I've been on the council. With all those figures and all the return on an investment, it's paying for itself. And going through the work plan, I don't have any reservations for anything. I think you're on the right path. It seems like you're kind of being proactive and looking to the future in regards to what that work plan should accomplish, and I like the AI tools and subscriptions. I think we should be using that stuff, utilizing that to our advantage. That kiosk definitely does need to be updated there at the airport. Yeah, no, that short-term rentals research, whenever that platform, you guys start accessing that data, we would like to see some information so that we can definitely start putting together a presentation for us to kind of look at and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, data helps make educated decisions, right? So that's what we're looking at, is just trying to gather that, and we're happy to share that with. That's why we're here. To help you in your positions.
And with the reserve fund, and so that's the $1.4 million. That's what's left over after all your expenses. So then you're just asking to use some of that money from that account.
Yes.
So about $800,000 will be left in the account.
Yeah.
Because of the whole stipulation. Okay. I guess is the TPA reserve? So you're going around to all the cities. That's for the whole Tri-Cities, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
That's what I was trying to look at my notes. I couldn't understand. That was just like a
Yeah.
Pasco. That was our pot. No.
So
ours in there.
TPA, it was authorized by the state, I think in 2004, where you could create these tourism performance assessment areas, and it's currently the assessment for our area is $3. I think you can go up as high as $5 with that. We're currently at $3, but that what you have to do is you get with all of your lodging properties that are 40 rooms or more, and I think 60% of them have to agree to go in on this, and then that's authorized in the area. We did that. I didn't do it. I wasn't here, obviously, but went around to the properties in all of the Tri-Cities and got agreements to do that. Got the approvals for all of them. So it's all three cities are in equally on this with all of the properties in their cities. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Barajas, do you have anything for us?
I do not.
Thank you. With that, I see no further lights. Thank you, Mr.
Great.
Lewis, and
Thank you.
the whole crowd. You're going to make us quite an empty room. But we really appreciate you coming down on a Monday night. We appreciate your involvement collectively and individually in our community and across Tri-Cities. The time that I spent on this board was really fun, and you're all passionate about making this a better place, and I appreciate your efforts. So, with that, do we have any public comment on this issue before they're fully excused? Going once, going twice, third time's a charm. You are off the hook, Mr. Lewis. Have a great night. Thank you. That rolls us into item B, resolution change order number 3 for wastewater treatment plant phase 2A construction contract with Apollo. Looks like this is going to be Director Sarah is going to own this one.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. This item relates to the construction of the second phase of improvements at the wastewater treatment plant. Next slide, please. So this project, if some of you may have had the opportunity to tour through the project and the improvements that were being done, focuses on the solid treatment train, so it's dewatering and thickening of the solids that are treated. This project is currently at 80% completion, with portions of it becoming turned over to our operations, so being ready for operation later this month. And the overall completion of the project is anticipated by the end of this year. Next slide, please. So with that, this is a $14 million project, I'm rounding, and the change order that is proposed to you or recommended for approval to you tonight is just over $111,000. That is under 1% of the cost of this project. And this change order specifically addresses a series of small items. There's 16 items. Some of those were fill directives as we uncover areas that needed repair or alteration, and others that have been small adjustments or additions to the scope of the project. For example, drains, both for stormwater and for other liquids that were in the system, as well as filters and adjustments to specific piping and boilers and sidewalks and railings. So they're all small, but combined they are reaching the level that requires action from council. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any, Mr. Prowse?
I was just gonna ask, we're still within our contingency, we're not over.
Yes, thank you for asking that. I forgot to mention it. This is within the allocation for change orders, and this project is funded through a low interest loan with Department of Ecology. So these requests are allowed through the Department of Ecology funding. It is within the budget that was approved for the project, and both staff review and recommends approval, but also Department of Ecology vets that the changes are acceptable.
Thank you. Seeing no further lights, Ms. Ross, do you have anything? Thank you, ma'am. With that, we'll move to public comment on item B. Do we have any public comment on this? Going once, going twice, third time. Moves us along to item C, which is resolution, fourth amended and restated interlocal agreement with Benton County Emergency Services, or BCES. Mr. Zale, you're going to kick us up.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions on the title of this? I'll refer those to the city attorney. But, so BCS serves with emergency radio services, all the jurisdictions, public jurisdictions in Franklin and Benton counties. A little bit of a history to this. The three cities and the two counties began discussions really almost 20 years ago. At that time, there was two public safety answering points, one Franklin County, one Benton County. And a little bit of a chore to go through a process like that and talk about consolidation. There's politics, money, and technology overlaid by public safety, the safety of our officers, safety of our firefighters and EMS folks, and of course the safety of the public. And so it took quite a long time, literally about 10, 11 years for that process to kind of materialize. And over the late part of the teens, we're able to achieve that consolidation. So note in the materials, significant milestone in the effort was in June 17th when our city council, along with the other city councils and the two county councils, approved a transition and buy-in agreement. And that was our first big formal step for consolidation. So tonight, well, actually, winding it forward to December of 2024, this council took action on a big piece, one that's been in works for a couple of years, actually, several years. And that was the financing of an 800 megahertz radio project. And council approved that. That action necessitates amendment to this agreement. So that's primarily the reason why we're here. And another one is some changes in recent state law that pertain to how agencies like BCES respond to public records regarding 911 specific records. So that's what the agreement's about. Two chiefs have been attending all the meetings. If there's any specific questions about negotiations, also our BCS directors in the audience, and entertain any questions council might have.
Thank you. With that, I see no lights. Ms. Ross, do you have anything?
I do not.
Thank you. With that, looks like we have no questions or comments. Do we have any public comment on this issue? Going once, going twice, third time. With that, hearing none, we will move on to item D, which is.
Sorry, Mayor, can I jump in real quick? Sorry.
Yeah, Mr.
Yeah.
Eric
I didn't mean
Ferguson,
to
sorry.
throw a monkey wrench in this, but there's been so many drafts of this going around that I noticed at the last second that this particular draft in your packet there's a few tweaks that have happened since then. And I apologize. I was looking for something in particular and noticed that there's been a few changes. So I would prefer to not put this on for consent. If we could have this as a regular packet item, that way you can take a look at it and we can make sure that you've seen the latest and greatest. There's just a few little changes, but I want to make sure that you have them.
Okay, so with that, I note that this is the fourth amended. Are we looking at a fifth, sixth, or
There's
or a new
I think
iteration of fourth
no,
amendment?
there was like 13 iterations of the fourth that
Okay.
that I think got crossed up at the very last second here. So, but we will get those to you. Specifically, the reason why I want to make sure that you're aware of it is that there's some language related to public records and indemnification that BCES was negotiating that isn't, I don't see reflected in this draft, but it is in the latest draft that we've received from Ms. Kinsley from the city attorney for.
So we can walk over those next week.
Sure.
Kind of.
Yeah, I was gonna
Get
say
the
if maybe this is kind of like a bluish gray line, if maybe a bluish gray with red line for whatever the nuanced differences are. I don't know if you're gonna be able to track changes at that level, but something that highlights those additional changes of the fourth version that helps us not have to reread the whole thing and figure out, well, was D, which is a full paragraph, was it 2 words or 0 words or the whole thing? So if you could do that, it'd be helpful, I think, because we prepare. Yeah, I think council's giving me the nod. I guess I'll reopen for public comment on that issue with that new latest and greatest iteration. Going once, going twice, third time. Okay. Figured with that, we wouldn't change things. Mr. Ferguson, nice catch. Thank you. We got item D, going to be Chief Roski resolution. It's memorandum of understanding between Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or ATF, and the city of Pasco. Mr. Roski, Chief.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor, council members. Good evening. And a series of MOUs, ILAs coming in front of you tonight as we look at continuing to address crime. This one specifically with our partnership with ATF will allow one of our detectives to be cross-trained with them as we pursue more violent offenders and makes the process much more streamlined, giving us also the ability to look at federally charging subjects and suspects in crimes locally. It's a pretty straightforward MOU, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on this one.
Thank you. With that, I'll kick off with a question. Do we know if with the new administration's direction, and I mean the Trump administration, is that going to impact any of the things that we intend to do with this group?
No, this would be a pretty standard MOU. We've entered into them before, just not with ATF.
Okay, I just know that they're cutting places and didn't know if this is chopping block material or sanding material.
Yeah, so there isn't a financial commitment one way or the other. It just allows us to be a cooperative partnership and deputize our task force officer to work under their directions.
Excellent. I like that. Thank you, Mr. Grimm.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to say, thank you, Chief. Go get him.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
With that, Ms. Barras. Thank you, Ms. Barras. With that, do we have any public comments on item D? Going once, going twice, third time. With that, we have no public comments. We'll move along to item E, which is another resolution. It's memorandum of memorandum of understanding. Sorry, I stopped there because again it was with ATF. Memorandum of understanding between the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the ATF, and the City of Pasco for NIBIN Enforcement Support System, NESS. Sticking with you, Chief.
So these are just fancy acronyms to allow us to use our evidence technician to enter data into these databases and quickly identify weapons that might be trending in the system and expedite our ability to investigate these and other fragments of bullets or whatever might be there. It's just forensically a tool that we can use going forward.
Excellent. Do we have any questions or comments? I'll pivot it real quickly to Mr. Ferguson. I didn't notice anything Public Records Act. Is there anything that could implicate that here, as we have services agreements to share information with there's a FOIA, then the Freedom of Information Act federally, and then there's a PRA it's statewide. Is there anything that could cause heartburn here?
Not in these, but we looked for it. That's
Okay.
always a concern because oftentimes state law. That's why it's always nice to be able to have these with the state, because you know that they're under the same restrictions that we are or guidelines that we are. But with regard to federal stuff, there is some nuances that are in the Public Records Act that are exempt, and we get into that with ATF with gun records and stuff like that. But for all of these agreements, these are very standard.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no further lights, Ms. Barras. Thank you. Do we have any public comments on item E? Going once, going twice, going three. Seeing none, that'll move us along to item F, which is resolution, memorandum of understanding with the Washington State Department of Commerce and the City of Pasco for the participation in the domestic violence high-risk team, the DVHRT. Chief.
Sure, as we look at impacting domestic violence and the violence and the victims that it leaves behind, we have had a partnership for a long time at increasing services and having support staff to help victims navigate these tragedies. This agreement allows us to expand on that with the Department of Commerce and potentially dollars that could come help bolster our investigations of domestic violence and ensuring that those crimes are better investigated, prosecuted, but then we also are offering services to the victims.
Excellent. Do we have any questions or comments from council? Ms. Barajas?
No questions for me.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment on this issue? Going once, going twice, third. With that, thank you, Chief. That'll move us on to item G, which is resolution, letter of agreement between the Geiger Institute and the City of Pasco for implementation of the Danger Assessment for Law Enforcement DALE model. Chief.
Yes, this will allow us to partner with this institute as we roll out that model, the DALE screening sheet as we're investigating domestic violence and ensuring that our officers are properly trained at this new form, questions that need to be asked, and then ensuring that basically this helps us with a criminal investigation and checking the boxes so the officers, I mean, these are very, very complex investigations and a lot of emotions. And so this institute has conducted studies and developed a better, what we think is a better model that we can train our officers in for investigations.
Thank you, Chief. Seeing no lights, Ms. Barajas.
Nothing for me.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any public comments on this issue? Going once, going twice, third time. That'll move us along to item H, which is resolution, service agreement between Hanford Mission Integrated Solution, I think that should be HMIS, but it's got HIMS, and the City of Pasco for use of the Emergency Vehicle Operations course. Chief.
Yes, so HMIS, as you know, oversees the Hammer course where we train all of our officers on emergency vehicle operation. And this agreement, we've been in partnership for 20 years with them. This is just renewing that agreement that we've had for those years so we can continue to use that facility and have our officers train on their emergency vehicle operation course.
Seeing no further lights, do we have anything, Ms. Barajas?
Nothing for me.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, just anecdotally, having worked on site, you guys do some pretty cool stuff out there that I'm grateful that you're training on a closed course rather than open roads.
Yeah,
Probably
me
save
too.
some lives and money.
Yes, sir.
So with that, do we have any public comments on this one? I suspect I know the answer, but I'll call once, twice, third time. Hearing none, that moves us through item 5. Thank you, Chief. Thank you all for the presentations. That moves us along to item number 6, miscellaneous discussion, starting with you, Mr. Zabel.
Council, just want to share a few little pieces of information from among the departments. One has to do with your debt service and your bond ratings. So this is in the utility fund. And recall some of the revenue bonds that you've recently issued back in 2023. Those came with a AA negative, which in itself is a good rating, but with a negative outlook from S&P, which is the rating bureau. And February 2025, just this past couple months, staff worked with S&P on a re-rate of those, which actually took a considerable amount of work from finance staff in particular, as well as public works, to do a complete credit review. And happy to report, while we still maintain a AA- rating, It's with help me with the word, Darcy. Stable. So that's a good signal, and it's moving in the right direction for our utility. And part of it is, what a rating agency looks at is, our rates adequate? Are we willing to take action to make sure our rate's adequate and we're properly funding the utility, as well as the operation of the utility itself? So council also gets a commendation in that one. I did want to recognize, though, Director Buckley and her staff and the great work they did in this last February, early March in that effort. So we talked a little bit about the push-in. Another thing council's been talking about is Zeroscape. And I don't have massive news, but tip of the hat, I guess, from Parks and Rec. They are in the early stages working with a consultant on boulevard design standards. So that's long been a big issue, and council have been around. You've seen the big green boulevards and the amount of water it takes. So we're working with McKay Esposito, going through a public process, community stakeholder meeting, should be advertised here shortly, to start talking about what those new standards might look like. Clearly, we'll be working with the development community and those that are building those boulevards with us from the private sector. And then a couple meeting notices I want council to be aware of. So March 25th, District 2 community meeting will be at the Grange Hall, 6300 Court, at 6 to 7 in the evening. And then a business watch meeting also on March 18th, 1 to 2 in the afternoon at Hapo Center. So we'll get those out to you with locations and times, but wanted to make you aware of those as well. So that's all I had.
Thank you. With that, do we have any other comments from council on this? Or we just gonna, we can go ahead and bypass unless there's anything emergent. Ms. Bross, do you have anything?
Actually I do, just a quick comment. I'm not sure if, deputy director is there, deputy city manager. We just picked up, the camera's on.
She is not.
She is not there, but I do want to put it on record. Happy birthday, Mitchell, but obviously not watching.
No, I'm sure she is. I mean, what better birthday party can you have than not being at council while watching it? I think we have some favorites in the audience that probably do that as well. Anything else, Ms. Brojas?
Nothing else from me.
Yeah, thank you for that recognition. Mr. Grimm wanted to say something.
Thank you. On that note, I would like to wish my oldest daughter a sweet 16th birthday tonight, who is home, probably also not watching, but no, it's just a joy, and I didn't know, she shared a birthday with Richa, so that's even more fun. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
There you go. I hear they're about the same age. With that moves us on to item number 7, which is our executive session. We do have need for an executive session covering 2 items tonight. So the first is consider site selection and acquisition of real estate purchase or lease if likelihood that disclosure would increase price under RCW 4230.110 subsection 1 subsection B. And the second was I know the code was 42.30110 subsection 1 subsection G. What exactly?
Performance of a public
Performance of a public official. With that, we're going to have the city manager or the interim city manager, city attorney, and anyone else? Okay. Sounds like we'll have you too. And we are calling this for 12 minutes, I believe. We're going to call that starting at 7:55, which will take us to 8:07. I don't know how to turn this on. Yeah. It is 8:12 and we have finished executive session. We are adjourned for the evening. Thank you for joining us.